The sirens came last. Before that, there was only the thud of small sneakers on wet wood, the scraping whisper of a loose board, and the roar of the river that had swelled overnight into something dark and raging. The boy slipped, just one sound, a skitter of rubber, a gasp, and then the splash that cut the afternoon open. Max heard it first. He was a big shepherd mix with a thick rust-brown coat, a white blaze at his chest like a badge, and eyes that read a person before the person even spoke. He was trotting beside Emma on the park path, tail swinging, when his head flicked toward the old footbridge. One ear lifted, another splash. Emma barely saw the blur of him lunge, tearing the leash from her fingers before Max vaulted the low railing and bounded toward the bridge. "Max!" Emma shouted. "Heel!" But Max wasn't listening. He didn't break stride. He hit the bridge at a sprint. The planks rattled. His paws drummed a frantic rhythm like a heartbeat charging into danger. On the far end, a bicycle lay tilted and abandoned. Beyond it, at the riverbank, a little red backpack bobbed like a signal light, snagged on a branch and tugged by the current. A boy, no more than 8, churned in the water, his small hands clawing at nothing, his head going under and jerking up again, eyes wide with terror. Max didn't hesitate. He didn't bark. He launched. For a moment he was in the air, framed against a sky the color of bruise, rain needles stitching the wind, and then he knifed into the river with a spray that hissed across the bank. The current grabbed him and spun him away from the boy. Max angled his body, paddling hard, muscles flexing beneath his coat, and Emma could see the lines of effort ripple down his back. "Call 911, she yelled to a man who had stopped, frozen. "Now!" She kicked off her sneakers, the world narrowing, gray water, red backpack. Max's ears slicked back, the boy's mouth opening in a silent scream. Max reached the boy first. The child's name was Evan. He thrashed as Max surfaced beside him, which only pulled them both farther downstream. Max shut his teeth gently on the strap of Evan's jacket, just a hold, a steady anchor, and began to stroke with deliberate, powerful strokes toward the far bank where the current eased behind a cluster of rocks. It would have been enough if the river had cooperated. But the river did not care. A fallen tree spun out of the bend and barreled toward them, a dark log sliding through foam. Emma's stomach dropped. "Max, left!" It meant nothing, but she said it anyway, her voice breaking. Max saw the tree. He pushed off Evan for a heartbeat, an impossible choice, and shouldered into the log, shoving it just enough that it scraped past Evan's shoulder instead of crushing him. The force drove Max under. Evan shrieked, coughing, gagging, reaching for that red backpack, for anything. Max burst up again, eyes wild, found Evan with a frantic sweep of his muzzle, and latched onto the jacket strap once more. By then, people had gathered. A jogger waded in up to his waist. Another man lay flat on his belly on the slick bank, reaching with a branch. Emma slid down the mud on her knees, hands outstretched. "Evan!" she called because she had heard his mother screaming the name from the bridge. "Look at me." "Keep your eyes on me." Evan's eyes locked on hers for one steadying second. He stopped thrashing. Max took that second and made it count, angling for a low shelf of gravel just downstream of the rocks. The current bit at them, spun them sideways, then gave, and suddenly Max's paws hit bottom. He dug in, his back legs churned. He dragged Evan onto the shelf, inch by precious inch. Hands closed on Evan's shoulders and hauled him up. He collapsed, hacking water. Max scrambled after him, chest heaving, sides pumping, eyes darting between Emma and Evan like he needed them both to breathe. The sirens, late to the scene, wailed across the park. "Is he okay?" Emma asked, voice shaking. Evan coughed, cried once, one raw human sound, and then latched onto Max's soaked fur like it was the only thing left in the world. "Dog," he whispered hoarsely. "Dog, save me." The paramedics lifted Evan onto a stretcher. His mother, Sarah, ran beside it, one hand on his hair, tears mixed with rain. "Thank you," she said to Emma, but her eyes landed on Max, and she knelt and kissed the dog's wet head. "Thank you, boy." "Thank you," Max wagged once, shy and steady. He shivered. Emma draped her jacket over him, then her arms. "You ridiculous hero," she murmured into his neck. What were you thinking? Max leaned into her like I heard the cry. I went. The story could have ended there. A brave dog, a saved child, a relieved mother, a soaked crowd drifting home with a tale to tell. But stories like this ripple. At the hospital, Evan's oxygen mask fogged with each breath, and he refused to let go of the stuffed dog the nurse handed him. He kept asking where the real dog was. Sarah texted one shaky picture to her husband. Michael, a picture of Max, dripping and noble, ears tilted like a question mark, and Michael posted it on his social media with 6 bewildered words. This dog just saved our son. By morning, it had traveled farther than the river. Thousands of shares became hundreds of thousands. A local reporter called Emma's phone. Another showed up at the park, where the river had subsided into a glassy panel reflecting a guiltless sky. Emma wasn't interested in interviews. Max didn't care about cameras. But Sarah insisted. Let people see him, she said, smoothing Evan's hair. Let them see what goodness looks like. So they met on the bridge, the one that rattled under Max's feet. And Evan, wrapped in a puffy jacket and bravery, smiled shyly as he held out a medal from his school, a big plastic star on a blue ribbon. He put it over Max's head. Max blinked, then lifted his chin as if he understood ceremonies. The reporters leaned in. Flash, flash, Max, one of them said. Can you pose for the camera? Max sat, tilted his head, and gave the lens a look so direct and oddly gentle that the cameraman lowered his rig and just grinned. Do you think Max realized what he was doing? The reporter asked Emma live on air. Emma thought of the deliberate way Max had let go to push the log. She thought of how he had aimed for the shelf, not the rocks. She thought of the quiet after, the way he kept glancing at Evan, checking whether the chest was moving, whether the boy was breathing. Yes, she said simply. He knew. The video aired that night. The next day, a morning show called. Producers in New York asked if Max could travel. Emma said she didn't want to drag him across the country for applause. We'll come to you, they said, and sent a crew. Max became a symbol, the kind that sneaks up on you, then plants itself in your heart. People were tired. The news was a daily storm of arguments and sorrow. And then here was a dog who heard a cry and jumped, without a committee or a comment section. The clip of him leaping, caught by a teenager's phone, looped on screens in living rooms, break rooms, and airport lounges. A veteran wrote, "This is what courage looks like." A teacher played it in class. A little girl with a lisp mailed Max a drawing of a caped dog flying. But heroism invites scrutiny, and soon the first twist found them. Did Max really save the boy? A headline snipped. Or did crowd effort count more? A pundit shrugged. We're exaggerating the dog's role. A comment said, the leash broke. Irresponsible owner. The noise mounted. The way noise does when it finally finds something good to pull apart. Emma wanted to curl around Max and hide him from it all. She walked him at dawn when the park was empty, when only ducks and the river watched. But even in the half-light, people recognized him. They approached softly. They brought treats, which Emma refused, and stories, which she accepted. My brother's service dog pulled him out of a nightmare, a woman said, cheeks wet. He didn't jump into a river, but he gave my brother his life back. My son is afraid of water, said a man with a gentle voice. He saw Max and asked to try the bathtub. Baby steps, right? Max listened to these confessions like he understood everyone. He always had been like that, present, calm, as if he were a field where people could set their burdens down. It was his ordinary power in the days before the extraordinary leap, and yet another twist waited, quieter, closer. A week after the rescue, Emma woke to Max panting hard beside her bed. Not from heat, but from some internal engine revving too high. His gums were pale. His eyes were bright and worried, like he was apologizing for something he couldn't name. Emma's heart lurched. She drove him to the vet with the same focus she had watched him swim with. They ran tests. The vet, a steady man named John, frowned thoughtfully at the chart. He's got water in his lungs, he said. It can happen. Aspiration. It's not severe, but it needs attention. He paused. This is from the river? Emma nodded. He's a hero, isn't he? He is, John said. Heroes get tired, too. They treated Max. Emma took him home with medicines and instructions. She canceled the next TV interview. She turned off her phone. She lay on the rug beside him and listened to the rhythm of his breathing, willing it to settle into something easy. When it did, when his chest rose and fell in that old, steady way, she cried into his fur. The next day, the quiet broke again, but this time it arrived with purpose. A letter showed up, thick paper, a return address from a children's hospital 3 states away. Inside was a picture drawn with careful hands, a boy with a bald head, smiling, a dog with a star medal. The note read, "Dear Max, I saw you on TV. I am learning to be brave. When I have to do scary things, the nurse says be like Max. Love, Ryan." Emma read it aloud to Max. He thumped his tail once, soft. She picked up her phone and posted only the letter. Nothing defensive, no retorts to critics. She wrote, "Max is resting. He's okay. If you're going through something hard today, be like Max. Hear the cry, jump anyway." It turned into more than a viral clip. It turned into a kind of anthem. Schools printed "Be Like Max" on posters. A water safety nonprofit contacted Emma and asked whether Max could speak for their campaign. She laughed and said yes. Evan and Sarah agreed to be part of it too. They shot a simple video. No music, no dramatic edits. Evan sat on a bench with Max's head in his lap. "Wear life jackets," Evan said seriously. "Don't play near the river when it's high. Listen to your mom." Then he looked down at Max. "And if you hear someone calling for help, be brave." The nonprofit's website crashed under the traffic. Donations rolled in. A small town funded swim lessons for every second grader. A dad posted from his backyard pool. "My son finally put his face in the water today because he says Max would." And then came the day they all met at the park again, because life loves a full circle. The city had decided to give Max an award. Emma didn't want pomp, but she couldn't deny the strange, bright joy people took in celebrating something uncomplicated and good. So she dressed Max in a clean blue bandana and walked with him to the footbridge, which had been repaired and reinforced. City workers had mounted a small plaque by the railing, a simple engraving of a dog and a boy's hand reaching for each other across water. The mayor said a few words. He was brief. He didn't make it about politics. He just said, "Sometimes we need a reminder of who we are at our best." Then Sarah stepped forward with Evan. Evan's cheeks were pink with health. He had a new backpack, also red by choice. He wrapped his arms around Max's neck, and Max leaned into him like they'd agreed on this long ago. "Max," Evan said into the microphone, voice trembling but true, "thank you for saving me." Cameras clicked. People cheered. Somewhere a baby laughed, the sound carrying, and then a sound none of them expected. A frantic voice. A splash. Not from the river, but from the shallow, ornamental pond near the playground, where a toddler had tipped in, more surprised than scared, but flailing all the same. It wasn't deep. An adult could wade to the center. But the crowd, shocked by the quickness of the moment, froze. Max did not. He glanced at Emma. She nodded. He trotted, not sprinted. This wasn't a river, into the knee-deep pond, nudged the sputtering toddler upright with his shoulder, and guided him gently toward the edge. The boy's mother scooped him up, laughing and crying at once. It was almost ridiculous, almost small compared with the river's fury. But that was the point. Courage wasn't only the leap. Courage was paying attention again and again. That night, Emma sat on her porch with Max's head on her knee. Sunset dragged a wide brush of gold across the houses. Her phone buzzed and buzzed. She ignored it. She scratched Max behind one ear, then the other, and thought of the boy in the hospital, the veteran, the teacher, the little girl with the cape drawing. She thought of Evan, who would grow up and someday forget the feel of freezing water, but hopefully never forget the warm weight of a dog pressed against him on a gravel shelf. The world didn't change because Max jumped. Not exactly. The news would still storm. The river would rise again next spring. But in corner after corner, people had chosen, if only for a moment, to believe in something plain and shining, a good heart moving toward danger because someone needed help. Emma lifted her phone at last and recorded a short video. No sponsors, no logos, just Max, lying with his paws crossed like a gentleman. Max is home, she said softly. He did a brave thing. Then he did a small brave thing. What he teaches me is simple. Listen for the cry, act with love, and keep showing up. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Max yawned, as if he knew he was part of something larger than himself, and also as if none of that mattered as much as this porch, this evening. These hands that knew exactly where to scratch. And somewhere, on thousands of screens, a clip of a dog leaping into cold water played again and again, and again, reminding strangers who watched in airports and kitchens and hospital rooms that courage, like a ripple, travels farther than we ever expect.